I think everyone has their own style of studying. You know what works best for you, and you'll learn more about what works best for you over the years. For me, I think it's been really useful to be honest with myself about what material I'm comfortable with and what material I really don't know very well. Sometimes it can be easy to just review things that I already know, but I know it's much more productive to focus on the more challenging material. So my advice is to really be honest with yourself about what's challenging for you and focus on that. It can be tempting to over-review things that are easy, but really putting in the time to grapple with the hard stuff is important.
So I think what's hard about medical school as opposed to undergrad is it's not deeper information, it's just a lot more superficial information. So you're going to have lots and lots to study all the time, and it can be hard to study in one way, in my opinion, all day long. So what I like to do is I like to just use different methods. First of all, I'll definitely read the notes a bunch of times before the test so that I want to get to the point where I understand it enough. When I open the next page, nothing's new on that page to me. I might not have it all memorized, but I don't have to sit there and rethink through each part of it. I've read enough to recognize it. On top of that, I like to use online flashcards. You just type them out. I like the mechanics of typing. It helps me remember things. I like to use a whiteboard and write things. I like to get out paper, and I think a really important thing is to take the huge set of notes and distill it down onto like one sheet of paper so that you got really all the most important high yield things on there. And then you can go and use online resources, and there's great flashcards and different things to kind of facilitate your studying. So I think what you need to do now is find what works best for you. So maybe it's visual, looking at pictures, maybe it's just reading straight text, maybe it's auditory, and get good at that, and then you'll be able to build off that when you get here. So I think just use lots of different resources, and it'll keep things fresh and exciting, because the worst thing you can do is study to the point where you're not paying attention anymore, and I think that happens a lot. At least it's happened to me when I'm only studying in one way. So I think that's my best advice.
So I really like this question because it's something I'm still working on today. And the thing is, medical school is so complex and so different. Even though there are connections between each topic, you have to study every subject differently. For example, in anatomy, I had to go into the lab and be next to a cadaver going through my atlas to be able to memorize the positions of different muscles or different nerves. And for molecular, I had to have a whiteboard near me. I had to make a chart and have a generalized overview of everything before I got started. And that's something that I realized that works for me for a lot of different subjects. So now that we're in organ systems, I realize that I need to have a generalized overview of everything. So when I start out with my schedule, which I have to make every day because it helps me focus, I have an outline of what I'm going to do for the day. And what I do is I make sure that I have a basic understanding of the concepts that will be discussed in lecture that day, so pre-study. And I make sure I review after lectures so that I'm able to maintain the material that's fresh in my mind. And I hope to review from the previous day. So for example, if it's a Wednesday, I want to pre-study for Thursday, and I want to review the lectures from Wednesday. And sometimes I try to review the lectures from Tuesday, but a lot of times this is not feasible. So it depends on you and what works for you. It's also important to minimize distractions, which sounds silly because it's something that we've been trying to do since probably middle school, and now we're presented with so many different things. For example, as much as I hate to admit it, I get distracted by my phone, which I have charging on the other side of the room, and it's on silent, and my excuse used to be, what if someone important calls me and I have my phone off? So I just found this way to minimize that distraction by putting it on silent and making sure that people that I know and that are close to me know that my phone is probably on silent, but I also make sure that my phone will vibrate when it rings. Another thing a lot of people use is this app on Google Chrome. It's called Stay Focused, so it disables websites that you select. It's something that I've heard people using now. So, for example, if you decide you go on Netflix too much and you want to disable it, you can disable it for a certain period of time, and you can't adjust the settings. So if a couple hours later you regret it and decide you want to binge watch a bunch of Parks and Recreation episodes, well, you can't because it's going to be disabled till the next day. And finding these ways to minimize distraction, also things that are tailored towards your own personal interests and towards your own personal distractions, really helps out.